Hey guys, how's it going? So today I wanted to make a video talking about how my music taste has evolved and changed over the years. And I also kind of wanted to try out this new format for how I make videos. I'm holding a microphone now. I don't know if it's going to make it better or worse. Hopefully you won't hear this noise too often. We'll see. This is going to be an interesting test. To get to the actual video. So my music taste has changed a lot over the years, and I imagine it's probably changed a lot for you too. So when I was a kid, I just kind of listened to whatever my parents listened to, and I'm sure that it was probably similar for you. You were listening to what your parents were listening to or whoever was raising you. Behind me, as you can see, I've got all of my records, most of them at least. I've been collecting them for probably 10 years now. I did the majority of my collecting in like the first 3 years because at that point records hadn't really caught back on yet. They were still sort of a fad at the time, but now, you know, every record is friggin' 30 bucks or whatever. Back when I started collecting, I think I probably got at least 25% of these records for $1 each. So that worked out for me. Anyway, what am I trying to say right now? I'm kind of riffing off of myself because I feel really weird holding a microphone, but it also kind of gives me something to hide behind. It's like a weird level of comfort and discomfort at the same time. Anyway, this chair is kind of weird. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it actually. Here's my records. I have to bend over. I didn't have a tripod. I'll just do this. This is cool. I feel Anyway, so music taste has changed a lot. When I was a kid, I listened to a lot of 80s and 90s stuff that my parents were listening to growing up, some 70s stuff. 80s, it was always playing. The 2 or 3 radio stations that we listened to in the car going to school, it was the same 40 songs, a lot of Huey Lewis. Honestly, a lot of stuff that I appreciate a lot more now. At the time, I either didn't like it or I was burnt out by it. That's where it started. Then there's this game that came out. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. When that game came out, all of a sudden I realized that music could actually be good. On top of it, I realized that anybody could play guitar as long as you had 6 fingers to hit every single button. That was kind of the start of where my music taste was going. I started listening to heavier things, stuff like Metallica and Queens of the Stone Age, you know, that kind of stuff that was within the realm of that game. When that game came out, probably that Christmas, I got an MP3 player. It was a cool little thing. It had like a USB stick. Well, really, it was just a USB stick with a tiny little screen on it. You plugged it in. You go on LimeWire, download whatever you want. Not that I did that, not that anybody I know ever did that, but I'm just saying it was possible. So I was listening to stuff from Guitar Hero. My dad recognized that, so he put a lot of those songs on there that he bought legally. He also loaded up some other stuff that he thought I would like System of a Down, Rage Against the Machine, things like that. I gotta stand up. This is weird. What do I do? Okay, I'll crouch. I'll just crop in. Listening to a lot of that stuff, it was heavier, it was more intense, but I really liked the energy. And the energy of all of it, I think, is really what attracted me to that style of music. It wasn't how loud it was or necessarily what they were saying, but it was the feeling of everything. That kind of put me on this path of, okay, I like this kind of stuff. I'm gonna look more into it. And that's what I did. I listened to some of the heavier stuff. And then a couple years later, this app called Pandora came out. And with Pandora, if you're unaware, essentially you type in a band that you like and it will play that band, but it'll also play other artists that are similar to it. So I would listen to Pandora. I remember listening to a lot of White Stripes at that time. I was really into comedians. This is about high school at this point, which kind of led me into listening to more comedic music like Bloodhound Gang and Tenacious D. Also around that time, this game Borderlands had come out, and there's a song in there by this band called Cage the Elephant. And so I got really into the sort of modern alternative rock that was coming out at that point. So after listening to some alternative rock, speaking of the alternative stuff, I skipped a whole arc. We gotta go back. Hold on. Let's rewind. 8th grade, I discovered this band. I don't think anybody had ever heard of them before. They're called Red Hot Chili Peppers. I started listening to them, and they were about to put out an album called I'm With You. That was my shit. I was so into Chili Peppers at that point. I thought the guitar was awesome. That was definitely one of the first bands that made me want to play guitar. Ironically, though, the song Around the World is kind of what triggered that thought, but the part of it that I liked the most was the bass. I didn't really know the difference at that point. Anyway, here we are. Still don't know how to play the bass. Still don't really know how to play guitar. Let's go back even further because I forgot another thing. There was this band that I found on my own. When you find something on your own as a kid that your parents didn't introduce you to and your friends didn't introduce you to, and you find it on your own, it's more special. I'm definitely a kind of person where I like to be the one to find the good stuff and then show it to everybody else and be like, yeah, I was there first. At least that's how I used to be. Now I don't care about that as much. Really. The band that I'm talking about right now is this band called Lemon Demon. I had found him on YouTube. He had a couple big songs at that point, at least big on the internet. Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. It's a classic. On his YouTube channel, the singer and creator of Lemon Demon is this guy, Neil Cicierega. He had other videos. It's actually kind of funny. Lemon Demon not only led me to liking sort of weird indie music, but it also led me into kind of wanting to make my own films. And as you know, I eventually got a film degree. So it's all full circle. As I got into high school, I started listening more to like the alternative rock stuff, and I kind of left Lemon Demon behind. But it was sort of always in the back of my mind, and I would listen to it occasionally. But when I was like 11, 12, it was religiously listening to Lemon Demon. Like, that was my jam. If you're a little weird, or if you like music, I recommend them. I won't recommend a specific album. I think you should just jump right in. Maybe check out Ultimate Showdown just to kind of have an idea of what he sounds like, or at least what he sounded like 20 something years ago. So we're in high school now, listening to Cage the Elephant, listening to Chili Peppers, kind of coming out of the Chili Peppers era that I was in at that point. I started getting into the Gorillaz, and so that kind of led me to listening to a little bit of hip hop, but I didn't really get into that until much, much later. When I first heard them, I started with their first album because it just happened to be a CD that my dad had. I didn't love it, but I liked aspects of it. I thought it was kind of weird, and I liked stuff that was weird. So on Pandora, we're coming back. The full circle has come all the way around. On Pandora, listening to, I want to say it was the Gorillaz. It may have been Cage the Elephant. And this band popped up. It was kind of this weird, sort of ethereal, sort of psychedelic sounding band called Starfucker. They were really interesting, and I thought they were really good. They had these really tight bass lines, and the tunes were really good, and the lyrics were sweet and non-threatening, and it was kind of similar to what I had listened to before, but it was also kind of the opposite of what I had listened to before. It had aspects of some stuff, but not really anything I had ever heard before. When I first heard Starfucker, I think that is the moment that my music taste changed. From there, I created another Pandora playlist, and then I found a bunch of other stuff like The Strokes and other bands that are kind of like, you know, more pop oriented. Starfucker, their label that they're on is called Polyvinyl Records. I went to their website, I bought one of Starfucker's albums, and they give you like a digital download of just like a bunch of singles from their other artists that are on their label. I was like, okay, cool, like I'll check it out. That, I wish I could remember exactly which one it was, but that's where I found Of Montreal, that's where I found American Football and Owen, La Sarah, just all of these really, really great musicians and artists that were relatively unknown. I think most of them were really only known within sort of their own communities, and I'm sure, you know, stuff like Of Montreal, they were big, but they were big in the indie scene. On one of those like single sampler albums that had been included with one of those albums, there was a song by Owen, The Ghost of What Should Have Been, which is off of Owen's second album. I think that song alone did a couple things. One, it made me realize like, oh, I should try to play guitar again, and this is how I should do it. It made me realize that you could write a sad song that was good and not just sort of up its own ass, I guess, because a lot of like romantic and sad songs that I had heard, they were all like, you know, radio hits, and so they all kind of sounded the same, and there was something about it. There was like this angst and that energy that I talked about, where even though he's not in your face like yelling at you about whatever this girl did, you're feeling it with him. And I was like, okay, like this is music. Like this is, if I ever learn how to really play guitar, this is what I have to do, because I want to be able to express myself in this way, because I felt like I related to him, which was, you know, it was, I had never really felt like that about an artist before. With like something like Lemon Demon, I kind of related on the aspect of, oh, this is kind of weird, and I feel kind of weird because I feel like I don't really fit in with everything else going on around me, and it was just different. And so my music taste changed again. Now I'm not listening to as much rock, I'm not listening to as much pop, I'm just listening to what I eventually realized was emo music. Now, we can debate all day about what emo is and what emo isn't, but I think the majority of people that listen to emo, like you, know and understand that it was emo. When I was growing up, when I was in high school, when I heard the word emo, I associated it with like, you know, you wear black and, you know, self-harm and all of these other things that's like really depressing, and I didn't really align myself with that. So it gave me kind of a new perspective of like, what is emo? It's this like, it's emotional, and I really vibed with it, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of those things that I think since then I've always strived to try to write along the lines of that. Where's my music taste now? I'm gonna stand up because I'm sitting on my knees. So where's my music taste now? It is everything that I just described to you all at the same time. Some days I'm listening to Gorillaz. Other days I'm listening to Rage Against the Machine, listening to Tool. Some days I'm listening to emo, but only from 1994 to 2003. Anything after that, I want nothing to do with. Anything before that, I just can't really wrap my head around it. Not really. Not yet, but I'm working on it. So where do I go from here? What is my music taste going to evolve into next? I don't know. Once I got into the indie stuff, I drifted away from a lot of what I was listening to before. I probably only listen to Lemon Demon maybe once every couple months now, which is, fine. Music taste changes, and it's still one of my most favorite bands of all time, but it's just got a different sort of special spot. It's not really on my list. What are my top 3 bands, by the way? Number 1, The Doors, who I have not mentioned through this entire video, so I should probably re-record the entire video. Number 2, American Football, I guess. They're cool. Number 3 changes every day. You know what? Number 1 is The Doors, because that has always kind of been that since I was a kid. I really forgot to talk about The Doors. That's crazy. I have a Morrison tattoo, and I've got posters on my wall. I've got every one of their albums. How did I forget to talk about my favorite band, bro? I might have to save it for another video. I don't know. Just imagine that at some point along the way, I started listening to The Doors. Actually, I'll keep it brief. I was 13. I was going through our DVDs, and I saw this thick box set, and it said The Doors, and it had this sort of weird-looking dude on the front, and I said, what is this? And I put it in, and I watched it, and I was way too young to watch it, and I loved every second of it, and I was kind of freaked out by a lot of it too, but the music was really weird and really awesome, and it made me feel weird and cool, and nothing has ever really come super close to that. This video was supposed to be about 5 minutes long, and I cannot stop talking. I might have to do a part 2. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully this format that I've got going on here with the microphone and the records in the back is cool. I do need to figure out a better camera position. Is this cool? Is this cool? Also, if you guys want me to go through some of these, I've got a lot of albums. Probably, it's got to be approaching like 250, but I've got quite a few. So I'd love to show them off and show you guys. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for bearing with me as I talk myself into a hole. No, thank you for being here. I don't know. If you like this style of video, let me know. I think holding a thing in front of me helps me speak more confidently. Normally, I'm a bit unsure of myself, but this makes me so sure of myself that maybe I need to take a step back from it. I don't know. Anyway, okay, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions because none of this made any sense, please leave a comment down below. If you want to see me go through some of my records, leave a comment down below. Follow me on Instagram for updates. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.